Happy Friday to you. I'm here with Mr. Dan Kramer, and today's topic, we just wanted to talk about abundancy versus scarcity mindset and, how to kind of shift out of that scarcity mindset. So, first thing I just wanted to bring up, Dan, is what what is a scarcity mindset? Like, when people act a certain way or things going through their mind, like what does that look like to you when someone's thinking with a scarcity mindset?
I mean, right away it jumps into kind of a negative mindset. Doesn't always translate, but I just think, you know, there's the glass half full, the glass half empty type of thing, and that can. I'm not saying you got to be like in the clouds all the time, right? Like we
Right.
want to have a realistic mindset as well, but a scarcity mindset, I think, big picture, the reason I'm against it, and it's not to say you can be like completely rid of a scarcity mindset, right? Even if we constantly work on our mind and we're improving and reading the books and getting around the right people and trying to think big and take action, like
Mm-hmm.
there's always a part of us that is a little bit scarcity mindset. Even you learn and you listen to the multimillionaires and the super wealthy people, it's a constant battle, but scarcity mindset limits you. It limits your potential, right? And it almost makes you kind of cheap. It starts to make you. So some examples are like making decisions based on cost alone, right? Like if you're the guy that's always looking on the menu and you're looking at the right side of the menu at the cost to decide what you want to eat,
Yep.
that's a scarcity mindset, right? So shifting from that, you want to make decisions based on quality, right? Make
Right.
and it kind of goes back to that cheap mindset. Like if you're constantly buying the $10 pair of shoes because it's cheap, but you don't like how they feel and they wear out really fast, you're like, it doesn't save money over time. Like buy the
Yeah.
quality pair of shoes, even if they cost a little more, and take care of them for 4 or 5 years. Um, so I don't know if
Right.
that's a great example, but just a scary
No, no, I think
mindset.
I just want to add something to that because there's a if you buy solely based on price, like there is going to be a cost. So it's like if you choose to eat, typically, junk food is cheaper than healthy food. If you constantly are buying cheap, and if you're buying cheap shoes, especially if you're let's just say if you're someone who's on your feet all day. I used to work in retail, so that strikes a chord. Like I would spend $120 on a pair of tennis shoes because at the end of the day, my back wouldn't hurt, my knees wouldn't hurt, and long term, it's going to actually cost less by buying higher value shoes because I'm not going to have back problems and knee problems and things like that. Um, that's just something that popped into my head. Um, you know, don't just base it on price because there is a cost with eating unhealthy, and buying the cheapest things that, building your house out of the cheapest materials, buying the cheapest shingles to put on your house so you have one hailstorm and it's destroyed, whereas if you had paid a little more, maybe it could have withstood that hailstorm. So I don't know, just a couple things. Didn't mean to throw you off the rails there.
No, and just I'm just trying to think. It's not just a cheap versus quality either. It's just
Right.
mindset wise. A scarcity mindset, I think, acts out of fear, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not so much out of trust, and not out of like potential, right? So an abundant mindset, maybe spend some time focused there. Like abundant mindset is not limiting. It's you give more, you're more generous, you give you have a better like attitude, right? Whereas a
Mhm.
scarce mindset will back you into a corner, and you're fearful and you're making reactive decisions versus proactive decisions, right? So it's not just a little thing. I don't think you're going to meet very many happy, wealthy people that have a scarce mindset. It's I think it's literally the one of the most important factors if you want to get ahead in life. And I'm not just talking monetarily wealthy. I'm talking like, you know, maxing out your faith and your family and your finances, and your fitness and all that stuff. Like, cool, you're going to save some money by staying home versus
Yeah.
paying for a gym membership, right? But let's be honest with yourself. If you're never going to work out, the weights aren't going to lift themselves, right?
Right.
So sometimes you got to pay to get in the right room, to get the right info, to get the right environment, right? So think abundant, like don't look at everything back to that cost thing. Don't try to save money, if it's going to impact like the results, like pay for the results. And that abundant mindset will kind of, I think, trickle through to every area of your life.
Right.
Kind of an experiment, but to each their own.
Yeah. No, no, and I think, if you're living in scarcity, we have I think we have more of a tendency to also just not not be charitable or kind, or just give, and I'm not saying give like monetarily, but just be a more giving person, giving of our time, giving of our resources, and genuinely helping other people win, because that's
Mhm.
that's what abundance is about. Is you want to see other people win, because if other people win and you help them win, ultimately you'll win too. And it's not like there's this, you know a pie that there's only so much to go around, and if someone's winning, then that means someone else is not getting it. It's not true, because there's constantly more pies being baked, because of there's more abundance minded people, and we're always looking to give more. So that's kind of the analogy someone used
Yeah,
to tell
that's
me
a good
about
one.
that. There's not just one pie. There's all these pies. And it's kind of the same with money. Obviously, the Fed can go out and just print as much money as they want, but even if they weren't doing that, and there was a set number of dollars in circulation, that money is going to keep moving. If you're out
Right.
there providing value, the money is going to keep flowing, and the more value you provide, the more is going to flow to you. But you do that by helping other people win, rooting for other people. And it's really hard to do when you're just thinking about, you know, how scarce things are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good litmus test question. Like if you're going, do I have a scarce mindset and an abundant mindset? Is, how do you react when others lose? How do you react when others fail? Or how do you react when others win? Have a big,
Mhm.
accomplishment. Like, are you just clapping so you don't look like a jerk? Or do you truly like, are you truly rooting for others to win? Like, and we all go through different stages, but if you're the guy that always looks at the wealthy people, and kind of have something bad to say right away, you might want to check yourself, right? Look inward, start writing some bigger goals, and go start getting so focused on your accomplishments that you don't really have time to look at other people and judge them, right?
Yeah.
We all do it. I'm not saying it's easy, but just if that might be a nice litmus test if you're listening to this, go, what is he talking about? Abundant versus, and that's all money aside, just attitude and mindset. Like, you should be so busy, and not like a busybody, but just so consumed with being the best version of yourself every day that you don't really have time to judge other people and decide if they're a good or a bad person, right? Now, with that in mind, you can protect your environment. That's different. You don't have to go become best friends with somebody, if they're not living the lifestyle you want. But just you don't let it consume you as to how they're how are they doing, right? Set
Yeah,
some big goals, write it down, get an action plan, and go. I think confidence is built and abundance will start coming to you when you set some goals and start taking some action. And then to Ben's point, learn how to solve and help other people, solve other people's problems, and you'll add value in their life. And if this is a money podcast or a money episode here, you'll figure out a way to get compensated for it, but you don't have to know that right off the you know mindset is first, the environment is second, putting yourself in that position, and then you know clarity will follow that as to how do we translate this into money and financial success. that's
right,
that's an opinion, right?
right.
I, yeah.
No, no, and it's true that the bigger and the more problems that you solve for people, the higher you'll be compensated. Um, I forget who has a saying like that. But there's an author out there. Maybe it's Zig Ziglar. I can't remember, but you know, you'll get compensated based on the size of the problems you solve and how many problems you solve and the amount of people you help succeed. So yeah, don't compare yourself to other people. Be happy with your strengths and your abilities. Don't be looking at other people and wishing you had their strengths and abilities. Find out how you can tap into yours to better serve people. um, and just stop looking at what other people are doing. I That's something that i I mean, I think we all struggle with, honestly. But when I stopped worrying about what other people are doing, um, it kind of gives you more peace, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and almost frees you, because you go, I don't really care if they're investing in that and I'm not. That's not something that interests me. That's valuable to me. I don't care if you know someone's out there buying a $10 million house on a lake. That's not my lifestyle. That's not how I want to live. It's it look to Dan's point. Look in, focus on yourself, and then go from there. So I think that's really how you start to shift out of the scarcity and into the abundance. And then I would challenge people, like, invest a little bit into yourself. That was probably my biggest my biggest hurdle to get over with scarcity was, I'm going to pay this coach how much money to
Mm-hmm.
go and do this, or I'm going to fly to this place and go pay this money to do this. Like, this is crazy. And at first I thought that, but I did it anyway. And it's amazing. You start to see that return on investment.
Yeah.
Sometimes right away, not always right away, but sometimes it's cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe if you're still listening, another exercise or visual to think about is, if you're sitting in your living room and somebody walked in, Ben, and dumped a big old stinky, nasty, you know, tub of garbage right on the floor, right? Uh,
Uh-huh.
not the greatest experience, right?
No.
Um, but how many people constantly fill their head with useless junk, right? Their phone, they look at other people's social media profiles for 4 hours of the day, and then they go home after they despise their job and they just talk about junk with their coworkers all day, and then they go home and turn on CNN and fill their head with junk, and then they eat a crappy meal because it's cheap, and then they go to bed, right? So they're literally opening up their brain and dumping junk in and opening up their mouth and eating junk all day, right? And I know this is heavy, but check yourself, right? Ask yourself, what are you carrying in your life and dumping into your life? Is it good stuff, right? So there's this thing called discipline equals freedom. Well, there's a reason certain people have better things. So you can either look at them and go, oh, he probably stole it, or he's probably, a bad person, or blah, blah. You can tell yourself that over and over. But if you really want to get ahead, like, do a little like self-analysis, right? How do you eat? How do you work out? What are you consuming, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
shift that like 1% per day, just a little bit, right? Instead of watching the hour of Netflix, read a book, right? Instead of sleeping in, get up on time, right? Instead of not working out, work out. I don't care if it's a 5-minute workout, right?
Yeah.
Like, small steps in the right direction will compound into something really big, right? And then back to Ben's point about self-development, like, when you get to that next step, maybe you have a little money saved up, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're borrowing the money. Like, invest in a coach, or invest in a course or a conference or an event that is going to, you know, help you take a further step in the right direction, whether that's gaining some new skills or meeting somebody who's living a lifestyle you want to live, right? So, and then one other thing I'll say is, if you see that guy with that $10 million house on the lake, like, it's okay to look at it and go, dude, I want that. It is
Yeah.
perfectly fine with that. Write it out, but don't envy him and then like think you deserve that. You don't deserve nothing, right? You're capable of whatever you want, but you don't deserve it. You need to get up and work for it, and you need to change your habits, right, to become the person worthy of that,
Yep.
right? So that's a lot of stuff, and a lot of personal responsibility is included in that. But like, writing out your goals, all the stuff we already talked about, that's all fine and dandy, but you need to do a self-analysis as well. How do you manage your time? How are you eating? How are you taking care of your body? Right? And
Yep.
you already probably know what you need to change if you do that, right? You probably shouldn't be pounding potato chips and cheeseburgers, right?
Right.
But that's the hard part, right? And that's the
Uh-huh.
choices everybody gets to make.
Yeah. No,
So,
and you know, I would just add, like, it doesn't have to be drastic overnight change. Like, honestly, sometimes that's worse because you decide, starting from this day, I am only going to eat this specific diet, or I'm going to work out 5 days a week for an hour. And if you're like most people, if you're like me, I mean, you maybe do it for a week and then you get burned out, and then what happens is you quit. So just start slow. It doesn't have to be drastic. Like Dan was saying, 1% better every day. That might mean reading one page of a book. Especially, I talk to people all the time and they're like, I'm not a reader, I hate reading. I bet you could probably read one page every single day. And then once you master that habit of, you show up every single day, hey, now I'm the kind of person that reads. It might only be one page a day, but you're a person that reads. And then you can work up to, a chapter a day or 10 pages a day, or whatever that is. If
mhm.
you really hate working out, you know, maybe you just start with like Dan said, a 5-minute workout or a 5-minute walk, and do that. Make the habit of showing up every single day, and then just growing from there. It's amazing. Just showing up is probably the biggest challenge. you know so don't bite off more than you can chew. That's something I would add to that. And if you so on my drive up there, I was in Minnesota with Dan yesterday, or not yesterday. Well, yeah, I drove back yesterday,
Yeah.
but yeah, I listened to Atomic Habits on the drive up and the drive back, and that was, the message, starting small and, just going from there. Because every time you do something, every single day, whatever habit you have, it casts a vote for the type of person that you want to be. So, do you want to be the type of person that, you know, reads books and, is improving their life? Or, do you want to be the person that just watches 2 hours of TV every day? You know, so you find out who you want to be, write out the habits that you got to do to become that person, and then start small. Start small, baby. Go from there.
Yeah, it adds up fast. You're all of us are just a sum of our habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in that's cool and that sucks, right? Because if you're not in a position where you want to be and you believe we're the sum of our habits, well, cool. There's a lot of power and control that you get from acknowledging that, but then there's some personal responsibility you need to take if you want to change it. That just means you got to change your habits, right? So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'll let you wrap her up here, and yeah, reach out if you guys have questions or want to talk further on this or any topics you'd like us to talk about. We're going to be doing this every Friday, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's specific topics you want to learn about, hear about, yeah, just throw a comment on here and we'll put it into our ideas for upcoming lives. And yeah, challenge for today, check yourself and see if you're the type of person that, leans towards scarcity or leans towards abundance, and think of ways to, to start moving to that abundance mindset, um, and just grow from there. All right. Well, everyone, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And we will catch you all later.